Okay, so we are live. Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. Happy to have everybody back. It's been a while since I've been able to stream. For those that follow, you know, I teach high school and I'm teaching a later period this year. So usually by this time of the day, I'm just wiped out. But been happy to have Father Apple with us today, or Father Paul, friend of mine from back home. You want to introduce yourself, I guess?
Thanks for having me. I've been a long-time lurker on a lot of these nerd podcasts and live streams and thought that it'd be fun to hop on with you and get you back out of retirement. And about a year ago, I think I started on a podcast with my brother. We do one for Warhammer and 30K. He and his buddies are going through all the Horus Heresy books as part of a 30K book club sort of thing. And it's called Legion Cast 18. Been kind of having fun doing that stuff. So I thought if I got on here and see what you guys were up to, it might be fun to see how the professionals do it.
See, the funny thing is when I first met Ian, he had a hard time believing I was a priest because he doesn't know any priests that are nerds.
Oh yeah. We're plenty of us. Don't worry.
Oh yeah. There was actually a priest from Madison that was at the meetup 2 weeks ago in Wisconsin, and he actually showed up in his clerics. I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Was he from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's from Madison, so I'm gonna try to get him on one of these days too. So
who's that then?
Sorry,
I had to slip out. My brother.
No. He's on Twitter. Balter's Hammer.
Oh, okay.
So
my brother just called me because he's looking for Doctor Who. He recorded it on Saturday.
Why?
He wants to watch it.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
So there you go.
I saw the BBC tweeted out that they tweeted out people's comments, and one of them said Doctor Who's better, not only better back, but better than ever.
Nah,
it's
not
like
true.
This last episode probably is a little bit better than Love and Monsters and Fear Her.
No, it was terrible. The ending spoiled the whole thing.
And I'm coming in as a bit of an outsider. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of Doctor Who on public broadcasting with my brother, and there wasn't a lower budget show as far as I know, but the stories were so interesting, and you could always tell how the sets were made and what was going on. But I always thought they had brought up a lot of very interesting kind of science fiction ideas and big concepts. I love that aspect of it, but it seems and I've seen a few of the modern ones. I think you've got all the production value you might want, but the stories just don't seem to be there for me. Have you guys
up until the end of Smith's era?
Okay.
If it weren't for the fact that at least three of us on this stream have got beards, I'd wonder if this was the BBC. I'd wonder if this was the BBC for the Mirror Universe.
No, I'd
wonder if in the Mirror Universe.
The problem with Doctor Who is that the BBC hates it, right? So when in the 70s the BBC hated Doctor Who, they tried everything to try and get rid of it, but it was so popular, and that's why they only gave it 10 pence for every episode to make. Do you know what I mean? It's really, they really had no respect for Doctor Who at all.
Was that because it wasn't considered respectable in some fashion, or what was the cultural aspect there, maybe? Because I know the BBC had a lot of like period dramas and that sort of things, but maybe the sci-fi wasn't considered as legitimate as the other stuff they were doing.
Yeah. The problem with Doctor Who is that when the new people took over in the 2000s, they did some really good stories and stuff like that, but I always got the feeling that Russell T wanted to push the agenda more. But obviously,
he did. If you remember New Earth, you had the two lesbians in the car, where all the cars are underneath, and I mean the stuff slowly crept in, even more so when Torchwood. But I mean, I can't remember what was the example. The Pater Noster gang. I hated them.
The thing is, though, as a filmmaker I always wanted, one of my dreams was to work for the BBC. I knew it was coming. Every time I went for an interview, it was let's put it this way: it wasn't a straight man that was interviewing me. It was always a gay person. But I knew it was coming because I knew a lot of people in the industry, even though I'm not part of the industry, and a lot of them were gay, and a lot of them were in the BBC. So it started, in my opinion, it started in the 70s, and it got bigger and bigger, and now they're in charge. The crazy people are in charge now. So this is what we're
I
getting.
gotta give a shout out. John F. Trent is here. Good to see you.
Hello.
How's it going?
Glad you could
Hi.
make it.
Hello.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
So I did an interview with John earlier this week for his podcast about the latest episode.
All right.
And as I was telling him, I tried rewatching it before going on with him. I just couldn't get through it again.
It's the production values are okay, right? I've never seen anything so boringly, as if that's a word, directed in my entire life. They had a gun battle and it wasn't interesting. In the streets, didn't they? Things were blown up and it wasn't interesting at all. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't excited. I didn't care who died. The whole thing just fell flat to me. I was kind of enjoying bits of it, but it was the ending that really is that. You know what it reminds me of? You ever seen the last James Bond film? Last James Bond was so awful that you enjoyed bits of it, but the ending, when they laid the ending on you, I said to myself, I'll never see this film ever again. And it was the same with this Doctor Who episode. Some of it was nice, and then they laid that big thing at the ending, and I thought, I'll never see this episode again. And I'm wondering whether I should carry on watching Doctor Who if this is what we got in the future. So yeah.
Well,
I was going to say, I'm happy to say that my worst fear or worst case scenario has not been met. Because my worst case scenario was that RTD would come back, the specials would be good, and it would go downhill from there. The specials were not good. He's certainly not going to false flag us.
I mean, what did you think of it, Father? I mean,
me,
or
the other one?
No, you, Mr. Miller.
Like I said, you take out the trans stuff, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, I liked the story of the Meep. I thought that was good, but it was just that, again, it's the message that has been bashed over your forehead over and over. I mean, they will say Doctor Who's always been progressive. Fine. I mean, they say the same thing about Star Trek, but it was never so in your face.
Say the same thing about X-Men. It's not usually true with X-Men.
Oh, did you? Sorry, John, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was done.
I was going to say, you saying that, I saw earlier on in my feed, someone's put up a video that apparently Nightcrawler, the most Catholic of all the X-Men, apparently his parents were lesbians.
Yes, they just retconned that.
I just saw that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Sick.
I just saw that and I thought,
well, John, I was going to ask you. I forgot about this. I guess in the Daredevil reboot, Daredevil's now a priest.
In the comics?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something to that effect too. I mean, I really don't pay attention a lot to a lot of that stuff anymore because it's usually just agenda propaganda. I see it as propaganda now. They're not actually telling you really any kind of interesting stories or anything like that. So I don't really pay attention to a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I did see a headline like that, but I didn't look into it or anything like that. I can only imagine what kind of
see if I can
subversion they're doing with that.
Do you guys have hope that this is mostly just a phase we're going through, and in a few years we're going to look back on this decade and just kind of laugh at the stories that were going on? Because we look back at some earlier comic books and say, oh, they were campy and they were silly, but we got over that. Or is this our future too?
The thing is, though, I mean, I don't know if you know about the EG thing scores.
ESG.
Anybody know? Yeah, the ESG scores. So basically, oh my God, is that Matt Murdock?
good grief.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't pay attention to comics anymore. Anyway, these scores, right? As far as I know, because I know very little about it, these huge companies are giving out money to push the agenda. Yeah, so Disney's getting money from them. I'm not sure if the BBC's getting money from them, but yeah, That's the reason why they can make rubbish and it fails, and they can keep making rubbish because these huge companies believe in this agenda. Now, I remember I was talking to someone about Doctor Who, and I was saying to them, look, it's not about Doctor Who. This thing is bigger than Doctor Who. It destroyed a lot of franchises, and they're going for the kids. That's what they're doing now. They're literally going for the kids. So when
Yeah,
you
they
watch Doctor Who, sorry, carry on, John. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of emphasize that point you were making. They're definitely going for the kids. I did an article, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. Disney Junior has a show called Star Wars Jedi Adventures. It's clearly aimed at toddlers and preschoolers, and they introduce a quote unquote non-binary character into the show that uses the they pronoun. And they don't try and make a big statement about it, but they clearly like introduce the character and like this person is they. And they're trying to already like this is normal. They're trying to normalize that to children rather than like this is a boy, this is a he, or this is a girl, this is a she. And we're seeing that across the board. So you have to be like really careful, especially for me. I have young children that they're trying to do this to. You have to be careful what they're watching.
Well, I mean, what was it, about a year or two ago they did that with Gonzo and Muppet Babies?
Yeah, they did it with the Muppet Babies, again, another Disney Junior product. I think that one was even worse because they turned him in. They tried to make him a quote unquote transgender.
It's like the reason why I say it's dangerous is because I've been in a lot of live streams, especially Dan's live stream, and once I said Yasmin Finney, that guy, and they all kind of felt shocked, right? And I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, right, if you're not allowed to speak the truth, right, that this guy is dressed up like a woman, and that's a fact, right? There's no gray area there. If you can't say that, that means what they're trying to do is silence you. Just free speech. That's what they're trying to do, and this is the danger, right? And that's just one aspect of what they're trying to normalize in society. And I think it's dangerous. And again, I would say this, right? I believe in diversity, totally, 100%. But I do not believe in what these people are doing, how they're doing it, right? I don't believe in it at all. I think it's wrong. I think it's destructive. And I think if it carries on, it's going to damage the next generation of people, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would actually go ahead.
I say if it carries on the way they want it to, there won't be a next generation.
Just a weird generation.
Going back to what
the logical conclusion of half what they want is no next generation. Almost
it's a death cult.
Yeah, exactly. Almost everything that these people seem to push for, the actual, I mean, not the dressing up bit, but the full-on actual full treatment, actual gender swap, mutilation of bodies, abortion.
Also,
not having kids because
it's a death cult.
Exactly, John. It's a death cult. But
also, it's Christmas, right? And I haven't seen one Christmas ad with Santa in it, or an activity. Nothing, right? I saw one advert where it was a John Lewis advert where this woman was lighting candles, then suddenly she gets this Bunsen burner out, she burns all the candles, and they burn the tree, and they step outside, and they're like, make Christmas your own. Do you know what I mean? And this gay guy was hanging a star on a tree, then he takes it off. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is what they're pushing, man. And it's so wrong.
Ian, I probably shouldn't tell you I watched Krampus for the first time yesterday.
Did you?
I loved it.
Well, what you guys are talking about has been a plan long in the works, though. I think after World War I and World War II, the Western powers really had this belief that the ideologies were killing people, and they'd almost wiped out Western civilization twice in 50 years. And they said, we've got to get people away from these old ideologies and get them focused on economics, get them on, get their house, their food, and all that stuff. They'll be happy. They won't want to go fight any more wars. So this economic model led to a huge population explosion. When people have a lot of food and comfort and the modern things of life, a few things happen, that you now start to be a much bigger drain on on the world. And so what's the new religion? It's environmentalism. And this was part of this movement to say, okay, we got too many people. We've got all this money, but now we got too many people. We need to get rid of people. So if you want to get rid of people, but you don't want to fight a war, you do it in more moderate fashion. You start to promote abortion and birth control and euthanasia and get rid of the nuclear family, promote these non-typical relationships, and over time your birth rate plummets. And then you get back to the population that these big powers want. And I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but look around, brothers. It's everywhere.
Well, I mean, look at the birth rates in Europe. You know what rate is increasing.
Yeah.
It's not Christians.
I was going to say they're not going to actually reduce the population. What they're going to do is they're going to reduce the population, capital T, capital W, the West, and their population is going to come from. In answer to your earlier question, Father Paul, I'm amazed how many times I end up referring back to Robert Heinlein. Will this last? Robert Heinlein in Starship Troopers referred to the late 20th century as the crazy years. I think he was about 2 or 3 decades out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if they look back at it in 100 years' time, they'll call us crazy.
I actually think that they're going to continue with this. I mean, I don't know if you watched anything with Bob Iger's interview at the book deal summit or deal book summit or whatever it was from New York Times. He seemingly indicated that while he's like saying what they're doing, like he wants to kind of put a stop to it. But everything we've seen coming out of the Walt Disney Company, the Doctor Who special being the most recent thing, clearly they aren't trying to stop any of this anytime soon. We just had the reference to this Nightcrawler comic. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. They just kind of want to, they might be more smart about it, try to hide it again, like the Disney Junior example, I think is they're trying to hide that a little bit more, be more insidious with it. So I don't see it stopping anytime soon. It's going to continue, but I also feel like while they're going to keep pushing that, they're going to keep seeing the people that are engaging with it decline. And we are seeing that already, which is, I think, is a really good thing. People aren't watching any of this stuff. The Marvels failing at the box office is excellent news. And people are creating, I think, good, strong products that people do want to be entertained by, that do have really good moral messaging. I think I just watched Angel Studios has been coming out with a lot of stuff. I know some people like have issues with The Chosen and things like that, but they did come out with Sound of Freedom. I just got a screener and I was able to watch The Shift, which is kind of a sci-fi
one of my
adaptation
parishioners
of the Book of Job. It was pretty solid. And they're having a Mother Cabrini movie coming out from the same director, Alejandro Monteverde, who did Sound of Freedom. And then I also see a lot of stuff happening. I use Formed, and there's a lot of really strong Catholic programming that is being created, especially for children. There's a really good show called Benjamin Cello, The Wonderful World of Benjamin Cello. It's excellent. I can't recommend it enough. It's a family a big family down in Tennessee. They converted, and they have a lot of like Appalachian roots, and they do a lot of singing and dancing, and they have really good lessons as well. So there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a guy named like Markham. He does children's programming as well. My daughter loves him, and he looks like the Riddler, but he has really good moral lessons and everything, and is teaching young children about the faith and stuff. So there's some really good stuff out there that people are creating, and you're seeing it across the board. And those are some of the examples that I'm seeing. Obviously, there's people creating new comic book stories and everything like that. Daily Wire's trying to do their stuff with Snow White.
Have you seen the
comedy?
Lady Balls.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I get it's a parody, but
it looks funny.
Just kind of.
Well, John, I was going to tell you, one of my parishioners does work for Angel Studios, so we were going to take some of the high schoolers to go see The Shift this weekend. I can't go because I have a high school concert to go to, but the trailer looks really good.
I recommend. It's an adaptation. Yeah, it's an adaptation of the Book of Job. Basically, this guy kind of loses his wife and his son, and he's transported into another universe where it's all despondent and dreary, and basically the devil rules it, and he has to kind of find the good things in that world, and he's kind of trying to spread the scripture and everything like that, and while he's trying to get back to his wife. And that's kind of the story.
Watch the trailer.
It's like a sci-fi romance.
Kevin, Molly, hi. I didn't come over here honestly expecting a date, but I feel like that's where this is going. So the idea is what we have some fun and maybe we kiss.
Hopefully.
5th date, we are really a part of each other's lives. It's a real thing now.
That guy looks familiar.
Bad thing that happens.
Wait, I'm a bad thing.
His name is Palawi.
Oh,
Yeah, he does look very definitely familiar. But
yeah, I think I've seen him in stuff. I don't know what I've seen him in.
Nice to finally meet you, Kevin. I'm the benefactor.
Is he the devil? He looks like the
Where's
devil.
the accident? What happened?
There was
Yeah,
no
Ian
accident
McDonough
here.
was-
Where did everybody go?
They didn't go anywhere. You did. There are countless other realities. Imagine everything you have ever wanted. 1,000 versions of you in 1,000 different worlds, all working for me.
Where's my wife?
I shifted her. I can't do this all by myself.
I think the truth is that you're a liar. Your goal is misery.
I prefer the term chaos.
I like
I've seen
those
a bunch of
helmets.
people like us out there looking for a little hope.
Neil McDonough, I was trying to remember that guy's name was.
Find that wife of yours. You're claiming scraps and rumors. I'll find my mom. I don't think the benefactor's gonna shift you back to your wife because you asked nice.
I won't ask nicely. I will find a way.
What do you want from me?
Work for me and get back with the woman that you love.
What if the bad thing tears us apart? Does that sound like something either one of us wants to endure?
Listen, I have to be truthful. That film does not interest me at all.
Okay.
At all. I don't. I mean, first of all, as a filmmaker, I think the casting is wrong. That guy looks like he just came out of church, and it's kind of like, why would you do that? Do you know what I mean? You want the most ordinary looking person to play the ordinary person, if you know what I mean. Immediately when I looked at his face, I was like, I've seen him before. Maybe he's been in films I reckon he's been in films like this before. It's like those what's those cards called that make those movies? You know, the big cards. What is it? The big card company that makes movies. They make Christmas movies.
What is it
Hallmark.
called?
Hallmark.
Hallmark.
Every person you see in Hallmark, they look like they belong in the Hallmark movie. If you're going to make a movie like this, you don't cast someone that looks like he just came out of church. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
It
Ian,
just-
but
that's
I
the
think I
first
mentioned
step.
it to you before that some of my favorite craptastic movies are the fundamentalist movies with like Michael York playing the Antichrist.
I mean, this is the guy who was in Wonder Woman 1984. He was the one that
Oh, of course.
Wonder Woman messes
Right.
with.
Uh-oh.
So, so I
dear.
mean, he was also in Jurassic World Dominion. So he's like
Oh.
he's a pretty somewhat pedigreed actor.
Oh. I always find the films that touch me are the films that are quite simple, and also the fact that it kind of lives in the Christian world, but it isn't a Christian film. Like, I give an example. You ever see Family Man with Nick Cage?
Yeah.
This film is very similar to that.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
This movie is very similar to Family Man. I saw a lot of parallels to Family Man. Obviously, Family Man doesn't really have a lot of there's an angel and everything, but this one obviously puts the faith a little bit more forward and everything like that. But it is very similar to the Family Man with Ben Cage
I think
Leah
what they
Jones,
have
I
to
think.
do is they have to make, if they want to make films like this, they have to make it in such a way that it reaches beyond the group. Do you know what I mean? It's like when they made Star Trek 4, they wanted to reach beyond the Star Trek fandom. So they created it in such a way that anyone can watch it. So with these films, that's what they should do.
I
If
would
they're
say,
too
I mean,
close to the Christian values and stuff like that, only those kind of people will watch it. You need to go
Yeah,
beyond
but
that.
I don't think when I saw the trailer for the first time, it didn't scream out like a Christian movie for
Oh,
me,
it did
because
to me.
I'm kind of like in the same boat where it's like, again, you look at the fundamentalists, the non-Catholic movies like Left
God-
Behind or
God is
whatever,
Not
the other
Dead.
stuff. God is not dead.
Oh,
I mean, that
that's
stuff is kind of
terrible.
like over your head, but this
Yeah.
actually looked, for me, this looked good.
I don't know.
I mean,
Sorry,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
I'm gonna disagree too. I think you
That's
can
all
get
right.
widespread audience with a Christian film. I think Father Stu proves that. It was one of
Yeah.
the top streaming videos on Netflix when it premiered. If you look at the Nielsen charts, so there is an audience for that, and I think it's growing. And I think we need to have more films like that, and showing like, hey, this is what we want. This is what we actually want to see, and these are the values that we want to represent. And then I think I think you can have a watershed moment where it kind of spreads into the other stuff as well. I mean, you don't get Lord of the Rings without Tolkien being a Catholic.
That's true.
Yeah, I would give that
don't
movie
get
a try.
Narnia.
It wouldn't really be in my wheelhouse for the sort of thing I would usually go out and buy a ticket for. But
Yeah.
based on the strength of their previous movie, I might give it a try. Just for
I
that
like-
reason.
Yeah, I liked. What was the previous one again? Because I saw it with
Sound
of
Freedom,
Freedom.
right? Yeah, that was okay. That was I thought it was a bit thick at the ending after the credits. He was talking. I don't know if you saw that bit. He was talking after the credits. He was no. You
Pay it
guys?
forward.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
pay it forward. They do that
Yeah.
in this one too. That's just kind of that's part of their business model.
All right. Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, they do that in this one too. Again, I literally just saw it. Right, I watched the screener right before I came on here. I thought the beginning was a little rough, but once it gets into that kind of second act and it finds its groove and does a really good job, and you get some really good emotional beats, some strong storytelling, and it closes off really well too. So, but it's a little rough in the beginning, but it does.
If you
pick
guys
up
had to
and-
watch
and-
that
and-
or the Doctor Who special again, which one would you pick?
I would 100% watch The Shift again. I would not watch the Doctor Who special. It's
Still haven't seen it.
and God bless you.
you should not
Well,
see it.
No,
It's great propaganda.
I was interested. In it. I saw the first clips. I mean, I don't watch the TV much. The first trailer I saw for the Doctor Who special was the one where you've got Rose, in quotes, talking to the Meep, and I'm thinking, I never watched Beverly Hills 90210. I'm not interested in teenage angst dramas. I will wait till it's finished. I will watch it, skip past the bits I find boring. I then started seeing other clips, and I thought, I won't say what I thought out of respect for the gentleman of the cloth on here, but yeah, I did invoke the Almighty's name in Why Do You Allow This? Especially the lecturing bit at the end as well.
Yeah.
And I would say that though the best bits I think have been some of the reviews to it. This is a family show. I definitely was this brew. I think I won't mention what he referred to the Arctron energy as, but I mean the thing is,
Oh, he's gone.
He's
interesting ideas. Oh, did I go again?
Yeah, you went, but you're back.
Well, you did. Well, let's put it this way. I'm still on the same computer. I did think there was, from the bits I've seen, there's some interesting ideas. I mean, I actually think that a lot of people are complaining about the beep meets pronoun bit.
Yeah.
Over the top. But I think if you think, I mean, I'm genuinely intrigued to find out. And it's very difficult to actually get people to think about, because you want to do what they do without thinking. Do ladies, females, women, is their default for thinking about a person when you don't know the gender she? You know, if a guy says, well, he does this, he does that. Do ladies, because I've read the Honor Harrington novels written by David Webber. Through Honor Harrington's voice, she's a female. Her default is she. Whereas I do wonder, that brings up I thought it brought an interesting idea of what is your default, but of course it was just hammered home with are you assuming his pronouns and all this sort of stuff.
We're in trouble if we can't say what the facts are. That's my point.
Well,
Normal English, at least here in the United States, is the default used to be he when you didn't know. what it was, and that's what you referred to.
Yeah,
So
well,
that was how it was taught for, I would
Mm.
assume, hundreds of years.
Well, I remember a very long time ago, I was in the Territorial Army, our version of the National Guard, and I was writing. At one point, I was actually writing instruction things, and I remember back in the 70s, early 80s, actually putting in there way back when I was still very, very young. Something like, in this manual, he refers to he or she for exactly because exactly it was a default. But so I've heard some women refer to it. What do you think of an alien where you don't know what a gender is or whatever? But as usual, as you said, just hammered home with the message.
Yeah, that was actually in the intro to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book, I think 2nd edition.
Was it? Oh, why?
There was a paragraph in there on the opening page that said he is concise and clear, and that's what we'll use going forward in the rest of the book. And but of course, by 3rd edition they got rid of it, but it was in there.
I mean, that's
and this is something
English.
that comes out of actually the 1930s and the fights between the socialists and the communists. They would use certain words and certain modes of speech to determine what party you were in. So the notion of political correctness means you would use the right words in the right context.
Oh, what? I didn't.
So they knew what party you were in.
Right. So I didn't know that's where the phrase came from. Thank you for that. That's fascinating.
So I have the clip queued up, which I think is probably some of the worst Doctor Who in the last 60 years. Is it going to include the phrase "male presenting Time Lord"? Yes.
Yes.
That's the bit I decided I don't want to watch.
This is going to be a reaction.
Walk away.
Video
Walk
for
away.
me.
Walk away from your computer.
I don't have sound.
There's no sound coming through.
Good.
Thank God.
Just watch the smug faces.
Yeah.
So Donna could have given that up. All she needed to do was decide she wanted to give it up, and she could have gone back to being herself. Well done, RTD.
Looks like a few of my students are in the chat right now. They
Yeah.
should be in class because class doesn't get done to 3:18. So I did create a heretical church in my one class talking about the Church of Bacon, because we were talking about what happens if you break away and start your own church with apostolic succession.
Well, Kevin Bacon?
No, not that. No, not that Kevin Bacon.
I keep trying to introduce the rabbi to there's a sketch by Al Murray where he talks about bacon butties in the morning after hangover, and his punchline, this is great, it's the greatest thing we've got, and God's chosen people like that to eat it, or something like that. And I keep meaning to introduce the rabbi to that because it's a really clever sketch.
Well, the rabbi for Father Paul, this is the rabbi that's from Israel that is part of the community, rabbi from another planet. And Father Paul actually just escaped Israel right after the stuff went down.
Oh wow.
Right. Wow.
I don't know. What is that?
He scribbled
You're
on his
muted.
Bring
head.
up on the full screen.
Father Paul, you're muted.
You're muted.
So there's a Coptic tattoo shop in Jerusalem called Razouk
wow.
Tattoos. And so this is my pilgrim tattoo. I got one in 2021, and I was there in 2018, and I just got my 2023 for being there during the war. And then that's but now the guy says, well, you got room for more, Father, so make sure you come back. But yeah, we were there
with
right
Father
when the
Dave
fighting
Nix?
took off.
Because I know he was there too.
I'm not sure what it says about the human spirit, but the city, the land in general, and the city in particular, that is an extremely holy site to the three major religions, is such a contentious ground, and has had so many wars fought over it.
Yeah, well, it's the center of the world. You've got Asia, you've got Europe, and you got Africa, and all that trade goes through that area. And it was always a meeting of cultures and different kind of this stew pot of ideas and religions. And when you go there, if you haven't been, there is certainly something in the air. that you can tell there's something different about this place. And it's everywhere you look, there's some landscape. And now I've been to the American Southwest and seen some amazing landscapes, and I'm sure Scotland and Europe has that too, but there's something unique about the ones in the Holy Land that just kind of speaks to your spirit, and you can see why these religions find these places important.
I can imagine.
I hope to get there someday, but like I said, the rabbi actually did a video for my students because he said he'd be willing to answer any questions about what's happening over there. So I let my students ask a bunch of questions, and he did like a 9-minute video on them.
Oh,
So
Was he all right? He wasn't rude or anything, was he?
no,
Like he was
he
normally
did.
oh yeah.
Kids didn't get it, and I think my kids left. So he did. He did call the UN chairman a piece of garbage.
Okay, all right. That's
And
good advice for you.
The educational coach that's at our school who's helping us this year was laughing when he heard that. I heard it, he heard it, but my kids didn't.
I didn't realize how small he is. I saw a picture of him on Facebook.
Well,
it's really
Ian,
small.
In our private chat between you, Dan, and the rabbi, I put the link, or he put the link in there. So if you want to watch it,
Oh, okay.
He's like Cartman. Small, no. Small and yes. And he said it himself. Yes, he does tend to get going a little bit if you let himself get going at the start.
Was he speed reading or speed answering, or did he slow it down a little bit?
Well, I mean, if you've seen the rabbi, you know how excited he can get.
Yeah.
Yes.
He keeps saying that it's the end of the world. Everything's leading up to that.
Well, but he made an interesting comparison that the amount of time, I'm trying to remember how he phrased it. And again, it's Jewish legend, but I think he said in the Hebrew calendar, I can't remember how he phrased it. I can't do it justice. You'd have to check out the video, and Father Paul will send it to you if you're interested.
It's very confusing, his religion. He was trying to explain it to me. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But do you know what I mean? It's very confusing, the Jewish religion. It's just hard.
I will say it is interesting. So in Chesterton wrote the Father Brown Mysteries. I didn't realize that there was a Jewish guy in the 1950s, 1960s writing a book called The Rabbi Small Mysteries. And it's basically about a rabbi that solves mysteries.
And yet none of them could beat Columbo. That's all I can say.
Just one question. One more question.
Just one more thing. Oh, PJ's there. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Sweet meteor of death.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was trying to work out what that was.
So, Father Paul,
Oh,
I mean, what are you a geek like
You're
us?
still muted, Father Paul.
So Michelle says the tattoo's cool. I've got another one. That's the crucifixion.
Oh,
You can
it
see
looks like a miraculous medal.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Oh, okay,
And
I see it.
They use the tattoo shop opened there in 1300.
Wow.
And some of the stamps they use are that old. When I was there with my brother Eric in 2021, he had a little St. George stamp that they think was 700 years old, and that's what they used to make the tattoo with. So,
wow.
Yep.
Do they follow the Western or the Eastern tradition about St. George?
I don't know. They're Coptic, so I'm sure probably Eastern.
Okay.
So that's the Eastern Egyptian, isn't it? Coptic.
Yeah. And to enter into the churches there, you had to have they had to know that you were Coptic, and so the way that they would let people know was that they would have a tattoo of a cross.
Oh, right.
So I'm told that at the baptism, the babies would, when they're baptized, would also get a little tattoo on their wrist that would show a cross, and that's where this tradition came out of
Wow.
For a long time.
Not very fond of tattoos for some reason.
Me neither. No, I don't like needles. I don't like the idea. Don't like needles.
I never was until I went there, and then you see the story, and you can actually look at Renaissance paintings of people who went to the Holy Land and came back with these tattoos from the same shop.
I don't like them on women for some reason.
No,
I'm not a woman, actually.
I know. The beard gave it away.
Although one of the guys at school said today he could be pregnant. I'm like, these days that could go. I mean, that could be
Yeah.
some.
Yeah,
Who knows?
It's as I said, right? It's crazy, right? Because we was on a live stream with Dan, and nobody wanted him to say that Yasmin Finney was a him. It was absolutely crazy. That's what I'm saying. If we by choice we're not stating the fact, then we're all in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Well, we're definitely in trouble.
I just wonder how much of a chance do you think tomorrow's story is going to focus on Rose, even though it's
You mean Jason?
Doctor and Donna off on a different thing. I wonder if Rose is going to play a part of it.
I
I
don't
mean
care.
Jason.
I find the whole thing.
Jason, sorry, that's right.
I-
Thank you, John.
I think someone mentioned that they're conflating two things. I mean, I'm a science fiction, I'm a science fiction geek. I've read a lot of things. I can. My question would be as a thought experiment, if you like. How many of these people with these gender identity issues, let's try and be neutral about it and courteous about it, would, if given the chance, would literally swap bodies? So you literally, completely, wholeheartedly, your brain is transplanted, or you want, or however, Turnabout Intruder style from Star Trek, or however you. So literally, you wake up and you are now fully, completely, and utterly functional. You pardon the data puns. In the opposite gender. How many people would actually want that? And if that's what they need to be happy, then that's fine. As opposed to, as far as I'm aware, Yasmin Finney is, I believe the phrase was female presenting. In other words, still biologically intact male. As I understand the situation, if I'm incorrect about that, I will apologise. But that's a different thing entirely. Someone who wants to dress up. They used to be called a transvestite. That's very different from someone who's had what I, at my advanced age, would have called the chop or the operation, where they've gone as far as they can. They've gone as far as they can to live their best lives.
The Archbishop of Portland,
Archbishop.
Archbishop Sample, has a pretty good like document on a lot of that stuff, showing that a lot of times these people they just need to be treated with therapy, and sometimes it just takes time. Like it could just be a matter of time. It's a phase that they're going through puberty and things like that. And a lot of times when they're trying to do a lot of this quote unquote, he actually says that it is a slippery slope. You start with the social saying, trying to like give them the wrong pronouns or whatever, and that usually like leads you into more and more extreme measures to do that, and it doesn't solve that doesn't make them happier or solve the mental or emotional or psychological issues that they're already dealing with. And I think you see that with like I mean, might be grim, but you see that with the suicide rates among the people that express that view or
Well,
that
we used to get good sci-fi on this subject where we could talk about this intelligently. So, the Matrix, if you think about how that world is set up, you've got human beings that are just the perfect consumers. They're plugged into the machine. And theoretically, I suppose Keanu Reeves could have taken on any shape he wanted in that Matrix if he knew that he was in it. And how close are we getting to that, where the computer games that are coming out or the enhanced realities are to the point where they're getting almost indistinguishable? There was a movie that came out a few years ago called Surrogates with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
You guys ever see that?
Yeah.
Where you actually inhabit a robot body that goes out in the world, and then you live in a pod, and the robot body goes out and does all and does everything for you. And so that's part of this transhumanist movement, where if you get people divested from their gender, then it's easier to get them to live in a pod and then go, live virtually in some other fashion and just consume without being a drain on society. And again, I think this is a very kind of demonic sort of way of looking at the human person, but we see it again. We see that everywhere.
Almost sounds like the Huxley's Brave New World,
Mm.
which is a good read. I enjoyed it.
I think that's the only one of the big ones I've read. I've not read 1984. Brave New World I have read. What's the other one? Animal Farm.
Well, I just started rewatching Brazil from '85, I think it was. Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
Yeah, it's a good film. And the visual effects are very clever as well in that film. Yeah, because they didn't have CGI in those days. I mean, it was pretty clever. False perspective and model shots and stuff. It was very, very clever movie. But then Terry Gilliam's very clever man. He went a bit crazy as he got older, but he was in his prime in those days. Put it that way.
I think one of the Lotus Eaters politics of is on Brazil, where they're looking at the social setups, the politics behind it, and the like.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm in love with films that are kind of simple and kind of does the job, if you know what I mean. I know I like Terry Gilliam's work, but there are some of his stuff that's like, well, do you really have to go that deep? Do you know what I mean? To put, you could have just went simpler, and I could have got the message. My favorite film is The Fisher King of Terry Gilliam's movie. I think Fisher King has a lot of heart. It's very moving. It says a lot about
Time
society.
Bandits guy.
Time Bandits I love too, because that was very simple as well and very funny as well. But when he started, he made Munchausen and the rest of them, and it was just, I don't know, it was like, he was trying to find something that really wouldn't connect with the audience. That's what he was trying to find. I mean, even 12 Monkeys was okay, but it was just too much, in my opinion. It's a balance, right? In my opinion, obviously, I'm only speaking for myself. There are a lot of people that like that stuff, but I don't gravitate towards the cleverness, the too clever stuff. Like Oppenheimer was good, but I'd never watch it again. Do you know what I mean? 2001, I've never liked. A lot of people saying it's one of the best films ever made. The visual effects were great. It was dull as ditch water, and I'll never watch it ever again. Do you know what I mean?
Ian, have you seen Napoleon yet?
The what? The what?
Napoleon.
I'm told that it's not very good.
Okay.
Rewrites history, apparently. That's what it does. I've never seen it there.
Well, I don't know if they would, again, I mean, I watched the podcast of Lotus Eaters on a daily basis, and they were talking about it today, and they had Carl Benjamin and Bo Dade, they're both history buffs. They actually did, I think they said they did, one of the reasons that attracted me to Lotus when I first started, and I actually signed up for, was they do history podcasts every week, and they did a 9-parter on Napoleon. 9 parts on the life of Napoleon. Apparently, this film tries to cover his entire life in 3 hours or something.
It's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I thought the Apple cut was going to be 4 hours.
Probably. I went to see that Flowers of the Something Moon, whatever it was called, by Martin Scorsese, and I didn't like it. A lot of people are saying it's, a lot of people saying, yeah, it's really intelligent and this, that, the other. And I was like, no, I don't.
I'd heard it. Isn't that based on the story that led to the founding of the events that led to the founding of the FBI or something?
Do you know what? Right, my brain is tiny. I must admit, I can't grasp these things. I mean,
no,
I don't know.
No, I thought I'd read that some. I've not seen, but I thought I read something that it was that the events it was based on were something to do with the founding of the FBI or something. I don't know, because I didn't know what it was about.
When was the last time you guys saw a really good action movie? And I can't even think of one now. Do you know what I mean? They don't.
Say John knows that I'm going to go see Silent Night on Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I like that film. It's quite good.
Wait, it's over there now?
I did see the newer John
already
Wick
open?
movie, but I didn't think it was as good as the previous ones.
Is it already out? Silent Night in the UK? I don't usually.
No,
You guys
it's
get
not.
it afterwards.
I think it's Boxing Day it opens here. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
That's John Woo. No, it's not, is
Right.
it?
Yeah,
John
it's
Woo.
John Woo.
Yeah, John Woo.
Father Paul, what movie were you saying?
Oh, I said I saw the newer John Wick movie, but I didn't.
That
think
was pretty good.
Well, it was.
It was okay. It wasn't as
good. They're trying to make up a lot of mythology around his character, and there's all this extra stuff I don't think they need. I think it just as a straight up revenge or retribution flick, it shined there. But when you get in all this mysticism stuff, I thought it was got a little silly.
I mean, the action was too much, wasn't it? Sorry, carry on.
It was way overblown. I thought, yeah.
They started doing that. I felt like by the second one, it just was kind of over the top, like gunplay action
Yeah.
sequences, and I felt like a lot of times he was almost doing the same. He did that like same role into like shooting them like multiple times, maybe just with different guns. And I was like, okay, I've seen this already like 4 times in this movie. Like, what happened to the plot where he's getting revenge because they killed his dog? That was the last gift from his wife, and there was like a emotional thoroughfare there, and I don't know.
Well, I didn't think it was going to do well.
I
did
noped out
they?
after the second one.
Yeah, when they made the first one, they ran out of money halfway through. So Keanu Reeves put money in, and the director put money in, and they completed it. But they all thought it was going to go straight to DVD or video or whatever. But it didn't. Somehow it got released in the cinema, and the rest is history. In fact, the first one made money, but it didn't make as much money as people think. And Lord knows how they got to the second one. So, you know, it was a miracle, guys. That film was a success. Do you know what I mean? So there you go.
What I kept thinking when I watched those was it felt like the Taken franchise.
Yes.
Like Liam Neeson in the first Taken, that movie was a surprise hit too.
Yeah, it was.
But then immediately they turned into these weird, not nearly as good copies. You know?
Yeah. Well, they were just trying to like squeeze as much as they could out of that. Get the last penny out of it, the last drop.
But then,
I'd probably say Dread for me. It's probably the last.
That was
like,
what,
one
7 years ago?
2008. Yeah, I guess like right around the beginning of the superhero boom. Winter Soldier, I guess, is up there. It's a good action flick as far as a superhero film.
I like Dread, but the thing about Dread was that I just thought that it was close to the comics, but it wasn't, if you know what I mean. I wanted to see the city in all its glory, but you didn't really. He was confined in one building, which was kind of like they're trying to cut down on the money, I understand. And all this slow motion stuff, I thought, okay, whatever. But apart from that, I enjoyed it.
I like the slow motion stuff worked because they made it a plot element. I thought with the drugs.
This may surprise you, but PJ's probably got something to say on this. But just
let him get on and say it. He has the link.
Oh, exactly. Well, no,
the thing is, comic enough too. He's similar to Ian.
Exactly. I mean, I've said, and I've.
Is he gone again?
Dropped out.
Dead. So yeah, I should stop dead again. That the Dredd movie, the Carl Urban movie, was a very good Judge Dredd movie.
It was.
It was not a good Mega City 1 2000 AD movie.
No, it wasn't.
Conversely, the Stallone movie was a crap Dredd movie.
You know what?
But it was a good Mega City 1
That's
movie.
right. That's right. So the big difference between them both is that I'm assuming now that Sylvester Stallone had more money. That film had more money to play with than the one that was shot in South Africa. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think I read or heard somebody said that with the newer movie, there were conscious decisions made to make it look a little bit not too far future, which is why he's wearing a biker's gear and this sort of thing. Then a lot of the stuff looks like it could have come off the streets of tomorrow.
Look, they did it
more
because,
than 100 years time.
That's not true. They did it because the money wasn't there to do it.
Fair enough. Okay.
The way it looked in the comics, right? Yes, I understand they changed his costume because having that big bird on his shoulder looked a bit stupid, and I agree with that, right? I totally agree with that. And agree, gun, that doesn't work either. But right, it was because of the budget, right? They barely scraped together enough money to make that film. And you know what? It was the right path to go down with Dredd. But unfortunately, the advertisement didn't help because when you see the poster, it just says Dredd, right? It doesn't say Judge Dredd. It says Dredd. So a lot of people would walk past it and not even notice what it was, you know?
In some ways, it suffers from a degree of similar things that possibly the last, I think, good Disney movie that I saw that I enjoyed, which was John Carter.
That was terrible.
No,
you like it?
I quite like the book. But then I've read the books. I've read the books. But what I thought, there was some really over the top bits and pieces. But I think the biggest mistake that Disney made was called it John Carter, and that was John Carter.
Now,
Whereas
I would watch John Carter again before any of the Marvel movies.
yeah,
Honestly,
so no Mars
yeah.
connection, but for me,
Maybe not all of them. I like Iron Man.
but for me, given the story, knowing the
Occasionally.
story, for me, it worked that at the very end he becomes John Carter of Mars because that was the story.
now
So it
is that the
worked
same
story-wise.
thing as
Hmm.
Image Comics, John Carter?
I don't know.
Because Image
one-
Comics
Dynamite
did a
has
run a few years ago of John Carter versus
You mean Dynamite?
Mars Attacks. Dynamite, thank you.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's-
They had the license to it, and they were making new John Carter
Well, there's-
comic books. Ron Mars wrote a lot of them.
I've got some
Um,
old Marvel John Carter of Mars books.
Yeah.
from the
Well, I got to
70s.
ask Father Paul, since he mentioned it, you were getting into comics recently. So what all are you looking at now?
oh, that's a big question.
Okay, sorry.
Nothing new.
I think it got started with the Kickstarters with the different things like from Ripa or Ethan Van Sciver or Mike Barron, other people that are on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I'm like, well, I'll give these guys a try and see if it's any good. And then you kind of go down or fall down a rabbit hole of kickstarting comics. And
Is it good?
I've enjoyed all of them for the most part.
Right. Is it original?
Oh yeah.
Well,
I
that's a
have
good- that's a good
Isom
question.
too, and I haven't read it yet. But
I think with Isom, it
Mm.
starts out, it's a pretty I would call it kind of a bare bones story. But in Isom 2, that you start to, there's a little bit more world building that goes on, and you find out that it's not just Earth. There's something else going on here, and they're just kind of trying to release the stuff bit by bit as they build the world. And I'm curious to see where it goes.
Right. Right.
But if you compare that to like what, and I know there's some beefs going on between a lot of these guys, but with Van Sciver's work, you look at his Cyberfrog book. I got one of them in the mail the other day. His work is amazing. It's beautiful. And so then so you can't, I try to stay out of the interpersonal stuff or what people individually believe, as long as the book is good. Because I have tried to get a couple more modern comics, and for the most part, been disappointed. We're at a point where I think some of the covers are the most beautiful they've ever been, but the stories are the weakest.
Yeah.
Oh, the art doesn't even match up. It's the art inside is absolutely terrible compared to who they have doing the covers a lot of times, and it's false advertising.
So, and I've had fun just doing bargain shopping too. I'll just get on and buy stuff at the dollar bin at some of the local shops and just see what there is, because I haven't read comics in a lot of years, but now I'm getting back into some stuff, and it's been
I was
fun.
going to say, Justin from your shop has been on this a few times.
I haven't. When it comes to comics, right, I stopped reading it during the 80s. No, actually, I stopped reading it during the 80s, and then I saw Sin City. I went into Forbidden Planet one day, and I was so bored. And I saw the compilation on Sin City, and that's when I discovered Frank Miller, and then that's when I got back into comics. And then there was Tank Girl that got me back into comics as well. So yeah, so
I
those
love the
kind of
Lois
things.
Lanes.
I know it's lame.
Is he disconnecting her?
Yes.
Do you reckon James Gunn's going to do stuff like that with the new Superman?
Father Paul.
His casting actually looks
I-
pretty decent.
I was
So
gonna
it
say,
doesn't look like it's captured by identity politics or anything. He's
Jimmy
pretty
Olsen.
accurate.
They cast
Yeah,
Jimmy
he's-
Olsen.
Jimmy
So
Olsen
if
is
Father
ready.
Paul's interested, I was just going to say I'm going to be in his area around Christmas time. I could bring some of mine back for you to look through.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay.
I'm like Ian. I remember back in the 60s and 70s more than the 60s. Buying. I was interested. You used to get the American comics, because American comics and British comics are very different things. British comics are close to, I think you could, is it the funnies? When you get in your books, basically you get several different stories, completely unrelated stories.
That's used to how American comics used to be back in the 60s and like even before that.
But
you
it was
used to get
because
Flash and Hawkman and everything.
it's because that
together.
British comics, right? They were cheaper. They were they were printed on cheap paper, and also they were black and white as well. Like the Judge Dredd comics are all black and white, and Strompian Dog and all that was black and white. And so because they couldn't afford the quality of what the Americans were pushing out. But the difference between the American comics and the British comics is that the British comics was very punk rock. It really was very violent. MHC1 was very violent. Yeah, I mean, Judge Dredd that was quite a violent comic
Ooh,
strip. Do you know what I
Which,
mean? So
you think,
yeah.
I was imagine back to the stories that you got in the early 2000 AD, the comic rather than 2000. You got things like Invasion, where you've got the Russians, sorry, the Vogons, not the Russians, the Volgans. Sorry, they're not Russians, are they? Invade Britain, and you've got you've got war. So they
Wait,
got
the Volgans, like Douglas Adams Volgans.
no, not Vogons, Volgans. I got confused. They're Volgans, as in from the River Volga. So no, they're not Russians. Honest gov. But what I was going to say was that but with the American comics, you used to get them in newspaper shops, but you wouldn't get couldn't necessarily get a steady supply. So I remember going back to my school fate, my primary school. I think after I'd left, I'm getting a load of old Superboy and Supergirl comics because those are my favourite ones.
I mean, you know, like for instance, if you compare the American comics to the British comics and American comedy to British comedy, there's a huge difference here. The Americans love seeing themselves as the hero, so they'll never create a hero. Maybe they do now, but then in those days, they never create a hero that had flaws or that was very stupid. Do you know what I mean? And Britain loves doing stuff like that. I mean, just look at Judge Dredd. That guy is a lunatic. You know, he's literally a lunatic.
So, I got to show the other one. I was up in Milwaukee for Gary's meetup about 2 weeks ago. I stopped at a comic shop, picked it for the first time, and I picked up a Sergeant Fury number 12, which I'm going to show.
Yeah. How much is that worth today then?
Wow.
Well, this one I paid $12.
Wait a minute, that can't be Nick Fury. He's got 2 eyes and
he's also white.
Skin. I was going to say, what? Yeah.
No, that's the what's his name? Who's the guy that was in Baywatch? That's
David
him.
Hasselhoff.
David, that's the Hasselhoff.
I've got to watch that. I've got to watch that. I've got that. I've got to.
I also got this one.
So, what's the
I remember those.
Didn't Dolph Lundgren play the Punisher in the film as well?
Yes.
Didn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Well, some other guy. There's also a 1980s Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that was terrible. I watched that.
Yeah.
I watched all of it.
Wait, are you talking the TV movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. I mean, it's not
It was awful.
not Oscar worthy, but it still was fun.
I was going to say the female lead, who I believe at the time went by male name, but is now
Okay, I
changed
gotta
her
bring that
name. Was quite. I thought was quite.
Do you know what I watched a couple of days ago? The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby. I watched that on Netflix, and you know what? I still enjoyed it. I just thought it was, it tried to make it serious, and obviously took it in another direction, and it really did work really well as a TV movie. Right?
There's an Australian YouTuber. The YouTube goes by the name of Stam Fine, and he does, I think it's a pun on It's a Damn Fine, and he does retrospect to a lot of those things. And he recently did that. Yeah, he did Doctor Strange. He's done a lot of those. They're really.
I want to play this real quick. It's only 30 seconds.
Wednesday, September 6th. Reach into the unknown with Dr. Strange.
Do you believe in evil? You're telling me you're a sorcerer.
Looks just like Benedict Cumberbatch.
John Mills is the power of good.
Okay.
Jessica Walter is the power of evil, and mankind's fate hangs in the balance. Peter Hooton stars as the man in the middle, Dr. Strange. Will the forces of evil conquer the forces of good on earth? Dr. Strange, a special 2-hour presentation. Wednesday, September 6th at 8/7 Central and Mountain.
Wow.
Much better than the Marvel version.
I was going to say, yeah, okay. The Marvel version without all the special effects budget.
I mean, there's some. I mean, as I said, the Incredible Hulk is amazing, and they've just started showing $6 Million Man now on one of the channels over here. And it looks beautiful because they've redigitized it and stuff like that, and it looks absolutely terrific. So I'll start watching that as well. Just reminds me of when I was a kid. $6 Million Man.
I hadn't known about this, but apparently there was a couple of 80s. They TV movies, where they go into TV shows of supposedly Captain America.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Nothing to do with the comics, where this guy riding around on a motorbike. Oh, they looked to be.
Well, that one was produced by Elton John, wasn't it?
Was it? Yes, it was. Yes, he said
produced by Elton John. Would you believe?
Oh, there was some.
There you go.
Some really odd things. But,
there you go.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. That's it. Yes, thank you. Yes. Frisbee.
Oh, is that Aunt May?
Oh my!
You're saying that. connection between there's the connection between.
Oh wow! He threw his bike up there. Fantastic.
There's the
You can't tell that's not on wires, can you?
connection between Spider-Man, Spider-Man and Lost in Space.
Lost in Space.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Spider-Man and Lost in Space connection.
What
And
the
a lot of
70s
times they would
Spider-Man?
make
Yeah,
shows like this because they might have lost the rights if they didn't make something, so they would
Yes,
just give
yes.
Roger Corman $1 million
Yeah.
and say, "Quick,
Each-
turn something out."
Each of the two had a Von Trapp in them. Because you
Oh,
remember Spider-Man.
that's a terrible joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke; it's a connection with what's his name? Hammond.
Yeah, Nicholas Hammond.
Nicholas Hammond. Thank you, Nick Hammond and Angela Cartwright.
You know what? I was reading up about that 70s Spider-Man, and a lot of things I didn't know about it. Like, for instance, that they owned the rights to make Spider-Man, but there were certain characters in Spider-Man they couldn't do. Like, for instance, they couldn't do Betty Brant. They couldn't do certain characters that was involved in the Spider-Man universe. All they could do was Peter Parker, Jonathan J. Jameson. I think that was about it, really. So they had to create new characters around him. Like, his girlfriend's name was Julie instead of Gwen or Mary Jane, and they weren't allowed to use those characters. I did not know that though until I read it I think it was last year. I read it. I thought, wow.
Well, say if you're not, if you've not seen them, as I say, Stan Fine is the guy. I watch a lot of his stuff.
Fantastic! Look at that.
They have
Just
the whole
takes me
movie on
back.
YouTube.
Yeah,
It just takes me back. This does.
That
Absolutely.
looks okay.
It does.
Yeah.
That's because they've tilted the wall, haven't they? And he's just walking. He's just walking.
Is that a filmmaker's
What?
secret that we just learned?
Batman style.
Yeah.
Batman style. It worked for Batman.
But I mean, I remember
Batman made a joke of it.
I remember being so excited because like they didn't show it on TV first. They showed it in the cinema in England. So they made the pilot a movie in the cinema. And I remember watching it in the cinema. I was so excited when I was watching this. I was like, wow, this is the best thing ever. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Looking at it now though.
Well, it's like some things. They're things of their time. I mean, I have to say one of my TV shows I remember from my childhood that wasn't Jerry Anderson was The Tomorrow People, the original proper one, not the remake and not the soap stars one, but the one that was that undiverse and racist. That my first crush was a black female school teacher. Diverse where you got the original series had
why didn't he run?
Had one male,
Why did he just run?
He was watching this guy walking on.
Yeah.
But it kind of brings up an interesting question though. With this level of technology, I still had suspension of disbelief. I could watch this and say, okay, yeah, sure, that's Spider-Man. But I remember watching the Black Widow movie that came out a few years ago with all the over-the-top special effects, and every 5 seconds I'm like looking at my theater chair thinking, okay, this is just a stupid movie.
Yeah.
But with an old Star Trek episode, I'd watch the whole thing believing they were flying through space.
Yeah.
You mean the one that came about 10 years too late and should have been Budapest?
Yeah.
The thing about the new movies today is that because you can do it doesn't mean to say you should do it. They got access to all these visual effects artists, and they decide to make the action bigger than it should be. Do you know what I mean? So that's the reason why you got bored watching it, because really it's just too much instead of having a clever story.
And it's not clever at all. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, someone came out. I come across someone come up with the phrase the other day that I thought was rang out really struck true about special effects. It should be touch-up makeup, not Botox.
Well, that's
but I thought it was a great because what I find is, as you said, if you're using it subtly, if it's used to enhance what you've actually got, you don't even notice it. That's fine. If you're watching something that's 100% CGI, if you're watching, for example, Roughnecks, the Starship Troopers Chronicles, entirely CGI, your brain switches. Your brain can switch to saying this is not real. I can accept it for what it is. Suspension of disbelief. If you're watching something that's live action and you set that your brain is seeing it, so your brain is saying, yeah, okay, this is live action. and someone does something that's obviously special effects.
No,
That's
the
what- I think
reason
that's when it sticks out.
the reason why with what Father Paul was saying, the reason why that film didn't work is because they don't have any superpowers.
Oh yeah, yeah. So,
And yet
yeah,
they're
yeah,
jumping
yeah.
from something, right, and floating down and doing amazing things. Like I always had a problem with was it the Avengers movie, even though I enjoyed it immensely, is when what is it, Black Widow gets thrown up by Captain America. She catches onto that flying thing. I'm like, her hand would have been torn off. She's got no superpowers whatsoever. You know, why would you put that in a movie? There's things like that kind of takes me out of it. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, whatever.
And a few of those things can be solved simply by just saying, "Oh, she's got a super suit."
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know, just,
Yeah,
just the one little line that throws it away.
Yeah.
And says, that's how this happens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because I remember in that Black Widow movie, I was actually checking my watch to see if it was over yet.
Yeah.
I was so bored.
Yeah. I mean, like I was on a live stream. We were talking about spaceships, okay, with Brown's live stream, and I keep saying this, right? If you look at Return of the Jedi, right, even though it wasn't a very good film, I like the film. Put it that way, it reminds me of my childhood. Do you remember that scene where they're flying through? Was it the Death Star 2, and the Millennium Falcon's flying through these things, and all the TIE fighters are trying to get them and stuff like that. That was all model work. That was literally they built that model, right?
Sorry,
they built
the
that
spaceship to Return of the Jedi.
They built all that stuff that was in a Death Star, right? And they had to literally separate the what is it, the models, you know, slowly so that the camera can go through them. You imagine the amount of work that went into that scene, right? But when you're watching it in the cinema, you are definitely connected to it because you know those things are models and you know that it's an amazing what they're doing. But when you watch films today, right, with spaceships and stuff like that, your mind suddenly disconnects to it because you know it's built in a computer. You know, you just, I don't know. For me anyway, my mind disconnects to it because I know it's a CGI thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I actually saw on the Black Friday sale over here, I bought the digital copy of Interstellar and rewatched it for the first time in a few years.
I didn't like that film at all.
The ending sucks.
Well, there's a lot of spicy takes on this this live stream. 2001 Interstellar, man.
Well, I mean, look, I'm only being honest, right? Because when I never went to film school, right?
I believe you though.
I remember when I was in I went to budget film school. It was like the government course thing. I remember I was sitting with all these guys that are far more clever than me. I remember we were all talking, or they weren't talking to me, but he decided to ask me a question. What's your favorite movie? I said E.T., right? And they basically looked at me like I was some guy from outer space because they were all into The Big Blue, you know, 2001, you know, Citizen Kane, you know, all those films that hail. But for me, those films are all right, but they're not great movies. You know, if you sit through Citizen Kane now, you'll be bored as I was bored. 2001, I was bored. Special effects are amazing, but I was bored. E.T., I almost cried. Close Encounters, I was in awe. Star Wars, I was in awe. Do you know what I mean? Those, to me, those are movies. Those are movies.
Is it Independence Day where they built a set, put it on its sides for explosions, so to film the fire going up? Was that Independence Day they did that?
Yeah, it was Independence Day,
Yeah. So when you had to do, I mean, like I said, I mentioned earlier on, I grew up with Jerry Anderson, right? Good, you
Thunderbirds are go.
Yeah, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Stingray, all, and especially Derek Medding's special effects. Yeah, the special effects things that they actually went to. So you could do good, or even I mean, even occasionally Doctor Who and Blake 7. Even occasionally the BBC actually had good special effects on for their shows as well.
I'm not only talking about sci-fi films and movies. You know, American Beauty is an amazing film as well. Do you know what I mean? Usual Suspects. Those, to me, those are movies. You know, don't talk to me about Big Blue because the Big Blue's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Lahane, that's another one everybody goes on about. Lahane is a great movie. I watched it and I thought it was okay. It's not great. It's
Which
just
one is that?
Lahane, which is a French movie.
Never heard of it.
Black and white French movie that everybody thinks
well,
is
that's why
amazing and stuff like that. But you know, it is a good movie. These films are good movies, but for me, my brain is very simple. I like so, anyway, I should stop there, guys.
you mentioned fate for me, and I'm just reaching for the bow, but then I'm 700 years old. So
you know, when I was at
Thank
this
you, Tom,
college
sorry.
thing, that's all they spoke about. They were all very high on their movies and stuff. 2001 was amazing. It's like, and they went into how the in depth of what 2001 meant and what it was saying and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, I was so bored watching that film. What can I say? Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, we got a few minutes before we gotta take off because I know I have a marriage prep this afternoon, and Father Paul said he had something going on too. And I think Archer had something, so I guess we could start final thoughts or something.
Final thoughts on Interstellar. The ending was awful. Everything else I thought was leading up to it was great, but then the ending ruined it. The whole like getting trapped behind the bookcase and stuff like that. I thought everything up until that point was pretty good, and then like it's just like Batman. The last act of Batman was awful. The Batman, the most recent
Never
one,
saw
was
it.
terrible too.
I just couldn't get past the first 5 minutes of it.
I
ended up turning it off and turning on the Tim Burton original Batman.
I could never finish Avatar.
No, yeah.
First one.
You're right.
I think I've seen Dances with Space Smurfs, but I think Russell T Davies has done one good thing.
Archer's trying to get us back on the actual topic. Here.
Doctor Who,
You said final thoughts. Yes, no, final thoughts. He didn't mean to do it, but the other thing he's done is with Davros, he's completely changed Davros. He's perfectly said, okay, fine. So he's made it quite easy to say from now on, this is obviously nothing to do with the original Doctor Who, so we can.
Oh, that
it's irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant. It's nothing to do with the Doctor Who that we remember.
I don't care. I don't care about Doctor Who.
It's not for us anymore. It's not for me anymore.
I don't care. I really don't care about Doctor. I don't care about Star Wars anymore.
Just remember, they got the transgendered piano dude coming up. That's supposed to be the Doctor's most powerful enemy.
Oh yeah, right. Well, good luck with that.
Wait, so you're going to have them both fighting each other, because didn't this episode tell us that the transmission is the greatest power of the Time Lords?
I thought it's a lead up to the toy master or toy maker.
Yeah.
Oh, I was cracking a joke.
Oh, right.
We missed it.
No, the two women that like give up their Time Lord powers,
of course.
or the Jason and Donna, don't they like become like we're better than you? Because a male presenting doctor would never be able to.
Which two women?
You know nothing.
John, which two women?
The 1.5.
Jason and Donna, the man and the woman. Sorry.
Okay.
Mother and son, daughter. Yes. Well, I saw someone come up with some ludicrous idea that Donna's going to regenerate into Shooty, which is fine by me.
You know what, right? You know what's going to happen? Somebody already told me this. The new Dr. Shooty's going to dance with a man and kiss him. So we all look forward to that, don't we? because that's where it's going. So good luck with that.
On the other show, I remind all the Longbeards to remember your grudges.
Yeah.
And don't forget what they took from you.
Absolutely.
Never forget, never forgive.
What's that show? What's the show you're referring to?
Oh, my brother and his buddies have a 30K podcast called Legion Cast 18 on iTunes.
Okay.
That's the Horus Heresy podcast.
40K. Okay.
30K. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in the 40K universe, but it's
right. Okay.
I watched. There's another one called Major Kill, and he was just dropped another. He dropped another video recently about the Horus Heresy. Lord knows how many Horus Heresy books now. I don't think I want to start reading them now. There's so many of them.
You can just listen to the podcast. We give you the short version.
Yeah.
But just watch when that property gets taken over by these SJWs. That's game over.
Yeah.
Well,
what I try.
Henry Cavill's supposed to be doing a 40,000 show for Prime Video.
We're hoping.
Prime Video is, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like they have The Boys, which is obviously complete and utter like degeneracy.
He says he has complete creative control. So if that's true, it'll be good. But if not,
well, you have things like Terminal List and Reacher that are also like that are on there that are pretty good. So it's they're open. And then obviously
the second one come out yet?
Terrible.
John has
second season.
No.
Trailer for season 2 is going to drop tomorrow at Brazil's CCXP Comic-Con.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just hope that the Reacher season 2 doesn't go woke. I really do hope that it doesn't go work. So
They
I don't know
did
if you
release a
remember.
trailer earlier, so
All right. I don't know if you remember Resident Alien. The first
Yes.
season of
Yeah,
Resident
I
Alien
do.
was brilliant, and then the
Mm.
second season,
Oh.
I
Let
despair.
me see if I can bring up what I'll watch tonight.
the common theme. Have a good first season. Now have you kind of captured, and then inject the ideology in the second
Yeah.
season.
Absolutely.
There it is. Let me
Absolutely.
bring up the image. I just bought the box set recently, and I'm going to watch it for the first time in a while.
What's that?
Here we
Awesome.
go.
Yeah.
Come on. There it is.
Oh, the Tick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that an American
like
thing?
that
then,
one.
The Tick.
That was the one that aired about 2001.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Amazon did the reboot a few years ago, and it wasn't too bad. But this was Patrick Warburton, who does the perfect voice, I guess you could
the
say.
best voice for it. Yeah.
Is it good? The Tick? Because I know nothing about.
Oh
The
yeah.
Tick. Yeah.
Wait, you don't know even the reboot or the cartoon?
No, I know nothing about it. I remember somebody telling me once that, and I saw the picture, and I was like, "This looks weird." So
It is weird, but it's fun.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Yeah.
try it.
The cartoon had me laughing out loud many times. When I watched
right.
that when I was younger.
It's a satire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a satire.
Okay, I'll give it
So-
nothing to watch on TV anyway.
Well, with that, any last thoughts?
That is my last thought. There's nothing to watch on
Okay.
TV.
Yeah.
Father
Yeah.
Paul, anything?
Nope. Thanks for having me. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
John?
you guys.
Yes, I don't have really anything either.
Okay. Archer? Or John, sorry.
Hey.
Skip Doctor Who. Find something that gives you extra time.
Well, we'll have to do it again next week because the new episode comes out tomorrow.
I have to watch it for Dan's channel. Anyway,
I
hoping this one's gonna
want
be
to
good.
stream with Dan. It's been so long. So
Yeah.
anyway, thanks guys for joining me, and thanks everybody for watching.
all right.
We'll do it again. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into the routine of streaming again. I miss doing this, so hopefully next week. And it's a holy day next week, so there's no school for us.
I'll try and keep you on task.
Okay, sounds good. We'll
right.
talk to you all soon.
Take it
And
easy.
we're
Ta-da.
watching